Okay, so let's move po sa aming next topic, which is influential psychologists and their contribution. So, meron po akong na-research na 10 influential psychologists. And let's start po with the Burrhus Frederic Skinner. Burrhus Frederic Skinner was an American psychologist best known for his influence on behaviorism. Like yung na-discuss po natin kanina, most of that po is galing po kay B.F. Skinner. Yung operant conditioning po and yung schedules of reinforcement. So, B.F. Skinner is best known for operant conditioning, schedules of reinforcement, Skinner box, cumulative recorder, and radical behaviorism. Among his many discoveries, inventions, and accomplishments were the creation of the operant conditioning chamber, also known as the Skinner box. His research on schedules of reinforcement, the introduction of response rates as a dependent variable in research. Next po is kay Jean Piaget. Si Jean Piaget naman po is nakilala because of his cognitive development, in which meron po siyang sinabing 4 stages na na-discuss din po natin yung kanina sa cognitive learning theory. Jean Piaget was a Swiss psychologist and genetic epistemologist. He is most famously known for his theory of cognitive development that looked at how children develop intellectually throughout the course of childhood. Next po is si Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud was an Austrian neurologist who is perhaps most known as the founder of psychoanalysis. Freud developed a set of therapeutic techniques centered on talk therapy that involved the use of strategies such as transference, free association, and dream interpretation. So he also offered evidence that cultural differences have an impact on psychology and behavior. His work contributed to our understanding of human development, personality, clinical psychology, and abnormal psychology. Okay po. Next po tayo kay Albert Bandura. Albert Bandura's work is considered part of the cognitive revolution in psychology that began in the late 1960s. Bandura's social learning theory stresses the importance of observational learning, imitation, and modeling. So, Bandura developed social learning theory and the concept of self-efficacy, which have had enormous influence across social, cognitive development, educational, and clinical psychology. Next po is si Leon Festinger. Festinger developed several key psychological theories. His theories of cognitive dissonance was the indirect result of an earthquake. So, Leon Festinger developed the theories of cognitive dissonance and social comparisons to explain the ways in which social conditions influence human behavior. Cognitive dissonance is the state of discomfort you feel when you hold two conflicting beliefs. You may smoke even though you know it is bad for your health. His social comparison theory says that you evaluate your ideas by comparing them with what other people believe. You are also more likely to seek out other people who share your beliefs and values. Next po is si William James. William James was a psychologist and philosopher who had a major influence on the development of psychology in the United States. Among his accomplishments, he was the first to teach a psychology course in the U.S. and is often referred to as the father of American psychology. Among his many accomplishments was the publication of the 1,200-page text, The Principles of Psychology, which quickly became classic in the field. In addition, James contributed to functionalism, pragmatism, and influenced many students of psychology during 35-year teaching career. James was also known for contributing to the functionalism of the earliest schools of thought in psychology, and his book, The Principles of Psychology, is considered one of the most classic and influential texts in psychology's history. He was also the brother of the noted writer Henry James and diarist Alice James. Okay po. Next po is Ivan Pavlov. Ivan Pavlov was a Russian psychologist best known in psychology for his discovery of classical conditioning. During his studies on the digestive system of dogs, Pavlov noted that the animal salivated naturally upon the presentation of food. So, kay Ivan Pavlov po, yung um, classical conditioning na na-discuss po kanina sa behaviorism learning theory, in which yun po yung may dalawang components, yung stimulus and yung response. So, doon po sa experiment niya, nakilala po siya doon sa experiment na ginamit niya po yung dog and yung food. So, in that case po, yung food po yung stimulus and yung response na ini-elicit sa mga dog ay salivation. So, yung stimulus po na yon is pinair niya po sa another stimulus, which is yung bell. Na kapag narinig po ng aso yung bell, nagkakaroon po ng salivation because the dog knows that merong ibibigay po na food sa kanya. Next po is Carl Rogers. Carl Rogers is esteemed as one of the founders of humanistic psychology. He developed the person-centered, also known as client-centered approach to psychotherapy and developed the concept of unconditional positive regard while pioneering the field of clinical psychological research. So his daughter, Natalie Rogers, described him as a model of compassion and democratic ideals in his own life and in his work as an educator, writer, and therapist. So next po is si Erik Erikson. Erik Erikson's stage theory of psychosocial development generated interest and research on human development through the lifespan. An ego psychologist who studied with Anna Freud, Erikson expanded psychoanalytic theory by exploring development throughout life, including events of childhood, adulthood, and old age. Okay po. Next po is si Lev Vygotsky. Lev Vygotsky was a seminal Russian psychologist who is best known for his sociocultural theory. He believed that social interaction plays a critical role in children's learning. So, starting in the 1960s and through the 1990s, that many of his writings were translated from Russian, but his work has become enormously influential in recent decades, particularly in the fields of educational psychology and child development. While his premature death at age 38 put a halt to his work, he went on to become one of the most frequently cited psychologists on the 20th century. So, Vygotsky's life was tragically cut short on June 11, 1934 when he died of tuberculosis at the age of 37 or 38. Sa ibang book po kasi 37 yung nakalagay, iba naman po 38. So, still, Vygotsky is considered a formative thinker in psychology and much of his work is still being discovered and explored today. Okay po. So, yun po yung 10 psychologists na naging famous po during those times na nakilala po sila sa mga na-contribute po nila sa psychology.